Hello, welcome. I am Karolina Zmitrowicz. I am from Poland, so I guess we are pretty similar in some ways. I am not from Istanbul, I am closer to you. And as far as I know, actually you can understand Polish words. Dzień dobry. Yeah, okay, so I can turn to Polish, right? And seriously, unfortunately or fortunately, the presentation is in English, and thank you, Pilar, for a great introduction, because actually you thought about everything that I wanted to say to you. So this way I will not repeat yourself, I will just go to the summary. And the first thing, actually, what is the presentation about? What do I want to tell you and discuss with you? Who are we? We are BAs, right? Who is BA? Please hand up. Okay, who is not? Would be easier. Who are you, guys?
Developers.
Oh my God, the dark side of the force. Okay, Oliver, we already know you. So I can summarize that you are BAs. But when I was listening to Oliver and to Pilar, I had an impression that, okay, we are BAs, we are doing a lot of things. We used to use techniques, so-called traditional techniques. We used to know things like business analysis, body of knowledge, and the idea that I would like to point to you that the business is actually changing. That was what was Pilar talking about the challenges, about the change of the market, and about the change of our profession. And actually, this is the main idea here. Where are we going as BAs? How do we want to face these challenges that Pilar told us about? And let's go through this journey. Let's make it. Let's summarize shortly as is. So, what is the current illusion or vision about BA? What are the challenges? I will not repeat what Pilar was telling about, so don't worry. And where are we going to? So, what is the future state? So, let's discuss the transformation, the change. Yeah? And just go shortly to the traditional BA. I will not repeat the definition, because you are BAs, you know the definitions very well. Yeah? Let's think how people are perceiving us, how people are thinking about us. The things here that you can see on the slides are actually the real sentences that I've heard from my friends, from people who knows me, from people who work with business analysis like developers. Yeah? What they are thinking about us. Who is a BA? Someone who is designing software. So, designer. That's true, right? Yeah, to some extent it's true. Someone who deals with requirements, who plays with requirements, so people are saying. Someone who knows business, whatever the business means. Yeah? Processes. What else? My favorite. Yeah. Writer. If you want to make notes and documents and anything, go to BA, he can do it. Okay. I see you like the image, me too. Okay. This is the traditional, let's say, perception of business analyst. Traditional way of thinking, actual way of thinking. Pilar told us design actually with users, not for, with users, create valuable products. Yeah. Theory. What about practice? Who is working in real IT projects? Do you know the favorite term, deadline? Yeah, deadline, budget, ASAP, as soon as up. Yeah, my favorite actually. Okay, so you know that in practice, sometimes what we are going to do is very, very far from the theory, from the old ideas. And that's actually sad, but that's true. That is how things are happening. So, let's just summarize what we are doing in real projects. For sure, we are linking business and IT in technology. Yeah? Linking whatever it means, techniques, whatever we need. We are the bridge. Or I should say, we should be the bridge. What else? We are communicating. Using, for example, techniques that Oliver told us about. Yeah? And the conclusion here is very, very important. In some cases, forget tools, techniques, focus on communication. Because in some contexts, what Pilar told us about, in some specific contexts, the techniques that you were learned about are not working. Because the target audience requires a different approach. What else are we doing? Eliciting business needs. From where? From context, from stakeholders, from different sources. We are managing scope. Actually, projects are scheduled and estimated based on requirements or business needs. We are creating the solution design. Using prototypes, using documents, whatever it takes. We are supporting testers. Actually, Oliver already introduced us to this idea. And I could say a lot of other things that we are in charge of. So 2 years later, we can go to the conclusion. What are we doing? Documenting everything. And actually, it is true to some extent. This is something that Pilar mentioned. Business analysis body of knowledge and their approach, their, let's say, traditional approach to creating business analysis. And without going into details, let's summarize what is the goal behind all these activities, all these so-called knowledge areas. The goal behind is to deliver value to stakeholders, including users. But not only users, of course. You know the stakeholder called sponsor. Yeah? If sponsor is not happy, it will not help you if the users will be. Yeah? With all respect to user, it is how business is working. Someone is giving money for creating some solutions, and you need to, let's say, explain consuming this money. So this is about value, and this is about introducing change to organization. Change, right? Not products. Not only products. The change can be a changing of business process. The change can be changing the way of working. The change can be also changing the way of thinking. And this is, in my opinion, something that is actually missing in BA. We are focusing on tools, modern techniques, buzzwords, things like that, but we are forgetting about the main important goals. We are helping someone somehow to change. And the change is actually the value. Yeah? So, taking into account we have this all processes, this all nice sounded words. Let's think, do it all meet current needs? What are current needs? Create fast, create cheap, create good things that the customers and the users will love. Yeah? I would say no. The traditional approach is not meeting this. Not because of the names, not because of the tools, not because of the techniques, because actually the traditional approach has all the techniques that we need. The techniques that Pilar mentioned, customer journey and etc., personas, etc. These techniques actually are also used in the traditional approaches in some different terms, in some different cultures, but actually these techniques are not really new or different, yeah, from the traditional way. What is missing sometimes is actually the contents, the context of the challenge. And the challenges, from my experience, the most important challenges that we have to face is something that is called like no clear boundaries between businesses. For example, you are going to a bank, and you can do what you can do in the bank: open the account, buy insurance, a lot of things, right? And well, some years ago it was just a bank. Now it is a bank plus a lot of other things that you need to that you can do this. So this is one thing. Yeah, businesses that actually have no clear boundaries. Why? Because they need to do this. If we will talk about a shop or a bank who is doing only the original business, they will not have a business anymore. Because the market is growing, the competitors are there. Yeah? So the company needs to make something unique to give the customers more value. And this is actually a challenge for us, because we need to stop thinking like that. The bank, okay, they are doing only banking. Yeah? We need to think out of the box, as Pilar and Oliver told us. What else? Multidisciplinary approach, UX, yeah? User experience, testing, acceptance testing. In some areas requires knowledge about actually people, about behavior, about psychological effects. Yeah? We need to know how things are built, so sometimes we need to know about technology more than normally expected. We need to know how we can design things. And this is not just I am BA and that's all. I am BA, so I will not talk with developers because this is not what I am expected to. Yeah? Forget this thinking. This is not working anymore. What else? We already told this, as soon as up, right? So I don't know if you know this, let's say, metric. Things must be done for yesterday. You know, okay. So you know exactly what I mean. Do you know this? Yeah. Sorry, okay, maybe it is funny, but this is reality. This is how we need to act. We need to deliver things that are cheap. So cheap, what does it mean? No high costs, no wasting of money, right? We need to deliver things fast. So forget the thousands of documentation, because this is not the value actually. Yeah? And things that need to be good. What does it mean good? Meeting expectations, delivering value. The main challenge, define the value, right? And this is the most important problems in many projects. Actually, Pilar mentioned as unclear objectives, unclear requirements. We are normally, in some cases, we are trying to deliver something. We do not know what is the goal behind it, but we want to deliver it as soon as up. This is not the way of thinking. First thing is to define what problem actually you are going to resolve. Okay. So actually the challenge that we need to face is how to be agile in business analysis. Yeah? I'm not talking now about being Scrum or making Scrum, not at all. I am talking about being agile inside, about changing the way of acting and changing the way of behaving to agile. Don't confuse it, please, with agile methods, because this is not what I am talking about. What does it mean being agile? It means playing with all these extra tools, techniques, very valuable techniques and tools actually, knowing what is the story behind them. And for example, things that were already mentioned, things like mapping, story mappings, things like working with agile environments and facing the fact that there is actually nothing like business analyst in agile sometimes. Yeah? This is something that you can know as Kanban maps, Kanban boards. So changing the way of working to being more agile. Yeah? And this is something that perhaps you know as lean software development, which is actually one of the stories behind agile. And what is important for me as a BA? Eliminate waste. What does it mean? Don't focus on documentation, on design, because this is not value. What is value? The solution. The value, the business, financial or other value delivered to stakeholders. Yeah? And cut everything that is not acting to deliver this value. What is also important, deliver as fast as possible. I remember my first project. It was, from the business analysis point of view, it was fantastic because we were creating the documentation, the designs for 1 year. 1 year of analysis. And now, imagine the current situation, the current business needs. After 1 year, the first requirements are not valid anymore. Or I have no target audience to create solutions for. Yeah? So what does it mean? Forget the documentation, forget the detailed design, because this is not needed in many cases. In many cases, all we need actually is minimum viable product, something that we can show to the customer, something not perfect, But we do not want or do not have to create perfect products. We need to accept the fact, and that is very hard, we need to accept the fact that sometimes all we need to deliver good enough. Yeah, good enough. So from the tester point of view, it is sometimes not perfect, and not perfect means it's sad, because the product that I am designing is not excellent. But the customer is not paying for perfect products, will not wait for perfect products. If the customer needs a solution now, for example, this is my solution, right? This is my solution to move the slides. And I need it now, not for 1 year from here, from this point. Yeah? So sometimes we just need to deliver a piece, but very fast. What is also important here, see the whole, see the overall picture. Do not focus on separate use cases, functions, or things like that, or GUI prototypes. See the whole, the context, the stakeholders, the value that is really behind the story. Okay, so this is actually what is being agile. And now when I am talking about agile, you can probably imagine something like Scrum or things like that. Yeah? And let's use this example. Let's use the example of Scrum. This is actually a kind of visualization of how the Scrum is working. And now a short example for you. Where is the business analyst here? This is, as you can say, copy-paste from the original, very valuable book describing the agile way of working, Essential Scrum. Where is the BA?
Everywhere.
Where? I don't see it.
With the customer.
Okay. You are saying everywhere. Yeah, well, actually, that can be true. Yeah. The problem is when we are reading, right, or discussing the agile world, sometimes this "where is BA" is clearly missing. We do not know how exactly make BA works in this kind of environment, because the guides and things like that are not defining this very well. Of course, you can read behind the lines, you can read behind the story, but this is just your interpretation. And the problem is that actually we are going into more and more agile way. Maybe not in every case, it's not in every domain, of course. Yeah? But in general, we are actually having to be more agile because the market is demanding this from us, the external conditions. So where is the place for BA here? And let's now try answer this question. Yeah, some people are saying, I am agile, I do not have any BA at all. I am agile, yeah? I am working in Scrum, there is no BAs. Okay. They are true. You are also true saying that there is BA everywhere. But the good news, there is still hope. There is still something that we need to discuss. There is still a solution that we can provide. And what is the solution actually? When we are talking about the agile frameworks and being agile, we can point at least 2 places where there is BA. Product owner, and there is something related with BA, because product owner from the definition is responsible for the product, and the product is a solution for something. Yeah? So there must be some kind of BA here. And actually there must be some kind of BA inside the team. Yeah? Because he is saying something, this Picasso image, yeah? And they need to understand this Picasso image to create the better Picasso image, let's say. Yeah? Okay. So there is somewhere BA works, and the goal is to deliver value. The value in form of a piece of product, a piece, good enough, and really enough to present to stakeholders, really enough to sometimes earn money. Yeah? Okay. So we already agreed that there is a BA. Somewhere, somehow, there is a BA. You know the term product owner, right? You know. Okay. Is there any product owner here? Okay, 1, 2 product owners. Good. So perhaps you also face the situation when you are working on an agile team, or maybe I should say you think you are agile. Yeah? You have someone who thinks he is a product owner, and he actually is. He knows the business, he represents the business, who knows exactly what is the business problem that we need to solve. So from the business point of view, he is an excellent representative of the customers and stakeholders' demands. But from the analyst point of view, he has nothing to do with analysis. He knows the business, he cannot transfer this knowledge to the team. Do you know this effect? Some of you know, some of you don't know. So if you will go into agile projects, it is actually one of the main concerns that we have product owners who represent the business, but the product owners is not skilled with business analysis techniques. So the product owners is not able, for example, to document the requirements in the proper way. Yeah. Why? Sometimes because the product owner is actually someone taken from the business. So he is a kind of end user, business user, yeah? And that was his job. He was just from the business. He was not trained as a business analyst. He was not trained in IT at all. So it is quite natural and quite normal that he can miss these competencies. So from our point of view, we need to deal with this situation and we need to find a solution. Yeah? We need to find a solution to allow to transfer this knowledge, business analysis knowledge, to the team and come back. Yeah? And one example is we have another player. We have BA who is actually representing a kind of bridge between product owners and between the team. Do you know this pattern, this way of working? I am seeing this a lot of time. Yeah? We have a product owner who is a typical business representative, and we have a hero, traditional, let's say, business analyst, who is actually transferring the knowledge from here to the team. Is it a good solution? What?
It works.
It works.
It works, yes.
If it works, it mean it can be a good solution. But is it agile? Well, what agile is saying? Close cooperation, close communication, to speed up things, yeah, to eliminate the communication issues. And now we are adding another communication role to the story. Yeah? So this is not really agile. I know it's working, and it will be working because sometimes we do not have another solution. Because we have a business here, we have a team, that's more or less technically oriented team here, and we need someone who will help to communicate these two roles. This is one pattern. The second pattern is, how to say it to not worry you too much. We will have a hero inside the team, so no BAs anymore. Yeah, believe me or not, but there are a lot of people, business analysts and designers, who are saying that in the future BA will not exist. So it would be better to look for another job, according to them. Why? Because from the business point of view, sorry to say, but he is more or less useless. Here is the business, here is everyone who is necessary to deliver the value. So, in theory, actually the team should have enough business analyst competencies to do the job. Yeah? So actually that is what Agile is saying. The team must be skilled enough to transfer this business knowledge to the working software. This is what is Agile saying, what is Scrum Guide saying. This is theory. Practice is, as I told you at the beginning, this is the practice. Yeah, that sometimes, okay, we have people who could do everything if they are asked to do. And sometimes the problem is here that, well, actually we do not have the problem stated here. Yeah? So this is another solution, that we will work with the team, yeah, as a team member. Which option is true? I don't know. We will see. For sure, what we need to consider is that our set of tools and techniques that we need to work with is growing. Yeah? So the traditional methods like UML, BPMN, mapping something to something, things like Moscow method, are still in place and are still necessary sometimes. But we need to, let's say, make our toolbox a little bit more broad. So for example, we need to know what is market research about. This is what you mentioned, Pilar. We need to know what is user research about. We need to know excellent technique that was actually mentioned, the persona. So try to visualize the users. Actually stop thinking about users, because when you are saying users, you see no one. You are users, so actually who? Yeah? Imagine the person that you are is your target audience. Document the person, and then you will see how many requirements you can elicit from this practice. Requirements that were just hidden before. What else? You need to know a little bit about marketing, because business analysis is also about selling the products. Yes, selling, yes. Trying to convince the business, for example, that this way of solution, this way of acting is better than another ones. Yeah? Service design. Have you heard about this? Service design or design thinking? Also nice buzzwords, very famous and very valuable. These are examples of cross-functional techniques. Yeah? Techniques linking analysis, designing, some market research, some prototyping, some technological issues. We need to know about QMS. What is it? Quality management systems. Quality management system, because value is a value when its quality is enough. So again, it is not as easy to say, I am BA, so you are tester, do the job. It's not working like that. Because in this case, you have BA who is doing something, you have tester who is trying to ensure or try to control the quality, and these two roles are not cooperating. So again, it is not agile way of working. This is a way of working like team number 1 and team number 2. Not agile, not fast feedback, not fast delivery to market. Yeah? So in general, we can say that because of the market needs, because of their expectation of our domain, we need to learn additional skills. Or change the job. Your decision, as always. Yeah? Another thing that we need to do, change the way of thinking. I am a great example of showing you how hard sometimes is to change the way of thinking. I used to work on strictly the traditional products. Then I turned into agile. Okay, I was set to turn to agile. And I had a real problem to change the way of working, that first we need to define goals, business goals for everything. Then we need to create use cases and requirements, so decompose the goals and document everything. And everything must be accepted, everything must be signed off before we move to the next step. And then they asked me to work with epics, user stories. And what was that? User story. As a user, I want to do something. For me, it was a great cultural change. To change the way of thinking, not try to document everything and to plan for everything. Yeah? Plan for small, just enough and good enough. Yeah? And transfer all the effort required here to create 1,000 pages of documentation to something that we will have 1 page of documentation and working product. Yeah? And actually, if you will go through some kind of publication describing the main challenges of agile transformation, this is the main challenge, cultural. Yeah? Here, changing this way of thinking, not tools, not techniques, because this is very easy, but changing the way of performing. Actually, what I am now seeing, I am seeing something that is called agile waterfall. Something like that. We believe we are doing Scrum. Yeah, Scrumfall, exactly. Yeah, and the iteration are just waterfalls, nothing else. Because what is the reason behind? Someone told us to introduce Scrum, so we are doing this Scrum because they told us. But our way of thinking is still waterfall. And of course, we have still problems related with waterfall. Okay, if I could summarize it somehow, for sure we are doing business analysis at least several levels of details. Yeah? At the iteration level of details, so the piece, let's say, at the project level at product level. Here we are going into more, let's say, a more general level of detail of the organizational level of detail. So if we would like to summarize the skills, the competencies, the areas of working for business analysis, we could say that we will have someone who is working on the business level, organizational level, someone who is the change maker. We can also say that someone is just a project business analyst. Yeah? Skilled with the project domain, skilled with some techniques, skilled with sometimes the technology. And we can say that we have someone who is working on the iteration level. And this is, for example, our team in Agile. Yeah, they are involved in a business analysis. So if we would like to answer the question, where are we going? Yeah? What is the, let's say, estimated or planned vision of our future? We could say that, I would say, this is my proposition, you may not agree with this, that traditional BA will transform into the specific roles. You can, of course, name them differently. Change agent visionary, someone who is transforming the organizations. Someone who is not working on the projects, who is just turning and working on the organization on the business level. That is why I called it visionary, because these are people who are involved in innovation, for example. We can also have someone who I called process owner, business process owner. So someone who is responsible in charge for business processes, not at the organizational level, at the process level. And someone who you know, product owner. Yeah. Probably this is the way we need to, let's say, develop our skills. For me, most funny way is here, of course. Not possible in all cases, because you know that the level of skills and the level of responsibility is much, much higher than, for example, this one. But for sure, this is the level that you have the most powerful story behind it. Okay, so as a summary, who is a BA for me? Change designer. Change designer, yeah? Multidisciplinary, seeing the whole, so not focused on functions, but seeing the whole. And actually, it doesn't matter if you are working on the project or organizational level. Yeah? The whole for you will be either the product, the project, or organization, and you need to perceive it. Yeah? That is quite difficult because in every cases you need to still remember the constraints that we have. Budget, time. And you need to be able to, let's say, choose the proper techniques, aspects, skills, activities that you need to do, taking into account the context, including the risks, including the constraints. Yeah? So, quite funny. Yeah? Because actually it seems that the BA is not so easy as we can understand from the definition itself. Yeah? A lot of things, a lot of skills, and what is tricky, technical and soft skills and communication skills. Yeah? And personal skills, because what is BA about? About acting, cooperating, talking with people. And this is the most important area. Yeah. So, thank you for your attention. I hope you get some inspiration from this speech, and very short information for you. I would like to invite you to Poland. We have a conference for business analysts. It is called Request. Yeah? Request for Innovation, actually. It is done in Poland. This year we are organizing the first edition. It is in the middle of November. Perhaps you would like to join us. Poland is also beautiful. Yeah. And it is not a big trip for you actually. If you will not manage this year, I would like to invite you for the next year. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. It was a pleasure to meet. What?
In this, the future positions, possible positions for business analysts, last slide.
This one?
Yeah. What do you see? Is it possible in here to be some kind of specialist, an engineer or something like that? Is there a place for that in this skill?
Well, specialization. I would say that this one does not, let's say, limit your ability to be a specialist. But the question is if the market still needs someone who is a specialist, expert in some in technology or domain. You can, of course, do it. But my issue, my concern as a BA, will be if I will not actually kill myself, but by trying to be a specialist. Because this way, my possibilities, my capabilities of working are very restricted. I believe that there are domains where the specialization is very welcome. Yeah? But if you would like to work as a, for example, IT consultant or working on a software house, so-called, I would say that you need to have as much skills and possible, let's say, utilization of your skills as necessary, because it is, again, always about business. Yeah? Will you manage to deal with medical devices? Will you manage to deal with producing conference systems? If yes, that's good, because you are a BA able to deliver value in more than one domain. If you will try to make an expert new league, yeah, to get expert new league, your possible, let's say, areas of working are very limited. So from the business perspective, I would say it is risky. Yeah. That's, of course, my own opinion. You can have another. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for the speech. It was very interesting. And with these challenges for business analysts, with these merging specialities, what is your opinion about combining project manager and business analyst roles? Because I read that sometimes people regard them as opposite ones, sometimes people say that all they can be combined together. What do you think about this?
Well, what is the goal of business analyst? Deliver value. What is the goal of project manager? Deliver value. Is it opposite? It is opposite if the project from the beginning is built on the wrong assumption. And the wrong assumption can be, for example, the business wants things like that, and this will cost like this, and the project manager is trying to lower the price to get some result for themselves. This will be opposite, but in this situation I would say that the whole organization of the project is just sick. If you will play as a team, including delivery team and the customer team, there is not a problem. And I've worked with many projects where actually business analysts were acting as a PM and vice versa, and it was working. Yeah. I think that the solution is just to work as a team to deliver what the customer, what the stakeholders want. And if you are able to ensure this solution, actually for me it doesn't matter what you call yourself, BA or PM or UX designer or whatever. Yeah, the story is to deliver value. And so that is my impression. Thanks.
Thank you for the great presentation.
Thank you.
Sometimes BAs want to go further, they want to change, they want to adapt this agile thinking, but they sometimes face internal issues within their organizations when the company itself wants to say the same, whereas BA want to go further. So what would you suggest to those BAs who want to change, want to adapt this agile thinking, while they see some reluctancy in issues with their current company?
Okay, actually it depends if you have someone to talk about this. Because if you are working with the inside the company where every try actually to change something is facing the managers and they are saying no, 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 no way. In this case, I would say that, well, answer yourself. Is there any way to grow up? If the company actually, if your managers are limiting you? My solution would be to change the company. If you cannot change the company, change the company.
Okay, but what if you think like you can change the project and the way that people think? What about like being a leader and leadership by BA? Do you think that BA along with project manager should be on par in terms of this building leadership within the project?
Well, if your role is the leadership and you are actually in the position of leader and you have the power to change things, actually you can start from yourself. So you can give an example to your people and you can try to organize your projects like this. The first, again, precondition would be to be a leader, not a boss, because these are two different things. The boss is telling you, do something like that. And the leader will tell you, okay, here is the task and do however you want to do. Yeah?
Thank you.
Всем спасибо.
Thank you.